Joining us now is Democratic Congressman from California, Khanna. Congressman Khanna, thank you for making time tonight. Let's just start with your reaction to the assertion on the part of Meta that the threat of violence has sufficiently receded. Do you agree with that?
I do not. I certainly think there are a lot of people in the Capitol who don't agree with that. Unfortunately, a lot of colleagues who still receive death threats and travel around with security. But, Alex, I'm a classical liberal, and I do believe very strongly in free speech and in getting different viewpoints. And it's a very difficult situation where you have someone who's leading the Republican nomination for president to say that they should not have a forum on essentially a modern public square. So I guess where I come out is if they're going to lift the ban, but take action to ban him again if he has any post that incites violence, that seems like a reasonable compromise.
So you sound confident that the new guardrails that Meta has rolled out will be sufficient to keep Trump in check?
Well, I don't know if it'll be sufficient to keep him in check, but it seems to me that it is reasonable as long as Facebook follows through. So under Brandenburg, our First Amendment law, which I think should inform Facebook because it's one of the greatest decisions along with New York Times Sullivan, if someone is posting or saying something that incites violence, that actually is not protected speech. And if Donald Trump does that, again, like he was doing on January 6th, there should be a clear consequence for that, and he should be removed. So I guess the question is, are they going to enforce those guardrails?
I mean, I guess that the question of, like, what is inciting violence and what is just tough talk? I mean, is suggesting the election was stolen and directing supporters to target election officials in an unspecified manner, is that tough talk? Is that inciting violence? I mean, how do you draw the line? And are you confident that internally Meta has the systems and the personnel to sort of make those very tough calls?
Alex, I think it's a great point. That's why I think they should look to First Amendment jurisprudence. I mean, those calls are made all the time by our judges, and it has to be imminent, the threat. It has to actually be leading to violence. Just tough words are not enough. And that was actually New York Times versus Sullivan, often to protect, frankly, the civil rights movement or anti-Vietnam protesters, saying you can't just censor speech if it is provocative. This First Amendment jurisprudence protects not just conservatives, but liberals. But my concern is that a private corporation like Meta, do they really have the independent jurists to be making those kind of decisions in a way that has the public trust? And I guess that's my broader criticism of some of the social media companies, that you have a few people who are multi-billionaires making these decisions about speech in society. I understand why the Supreme Court or judges are making it, but now you've got private companies making it.
Let me just ask you one question about why Meta's making this decision right now. Yes, the suspension was up. It had been 2 years since Trump was officially taken off of Facebook and Instagram. But we also know that House Republicans have been very clear about targeting, if you will, big tech and hauling some of those CEOs up to the hill and effectively asking them some very tough questions, if not more, about a perceived left-wing bias. Do you think that this is an effort to curry favor, the replatforming of Trump? Do you think this is an effort to curry favor with House Republicans now that they're running the show?
I don't. I think they are sensitive to criticism from lawmakers on both sides. I mean, when we were in the majority, we were very critical of the antitrust issues with big tech and the lack of privacy issues. I think here there are concerns on censorship. But, Alex, the censorship is often against the left more than the right. I mean, the top 10 most popular sites on Facebook, 9 out of 10 of them are conservative sites. They're not liberal sites. So I don't think there's some conservative bias. My candid assessment is I think they looked at it that Donald Trump is a leading candidate for president for the Republican Party, like it or not. He may be the Republican nominee, and they didn't think that they wanted him off modern public squares in that position.
Yeah, I mean, what we know from the January 6th committee is that Team Purple, which was dedicated specifically to examine the role of social media in the January 6th insurrection, found a bias towards Trump, that some of his violent incitement was not censored in the way that it should have been because tech companies were so worried about being perceived as anti-conservative. Congressman Khanna, Democrat from California, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.